Yeah, we'll see him tomorrow. I know that.
Yeah.
That
Recap a little bit and kind of prep. But yeah, I've got 2 hours left, so I need to get all of it. Yeah.
And do that countdown clock.
Yeah, exactly.
But if they're not here, it won't matter. They can't see that there's only a few seconds left. So
We'll start without them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just please, if please promptly act.
Hey.
You're here, you're not.
Good morning, Stan, and good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
hey, Tan,
How are you, man?
good.
So Stan always come before Stan, right?
Yes. It's funny. Every time they say, when they're talking to you, I think they're talking to me. I'm like, no, I think you said Tan. I was trying to tell them to say Tan Z, because then I know it's not Stan Lee. So
Yeah, that's very close. Both of you.
Yeah.
Oh, I went Stanley with it, not because I want to be proper, it's because there's delineation there, excuse me. But understood.
All right, Bill made it before we had to issue a tardy slip.
Nope.
But
he's gone.
Jerome,
Come on, Jim. I think he's in at 9, right of the money.
let's see if Jerome's going to make it. It's 9 o'clock right now.
Jerome went to party, I guess.
Oh,
Ekram's here. All right, I hear calendar invites going off. Oh, he just made it. He just made it. Yep.
Right on.
All right, Jerome. We were about to issue a tardy slip, but we made it at the with seconds to spare. So
the
good job.
suspense is over.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, we are going to get right into it because we still have a lot to cover. I think we can do it, but I don't want to mess around. And let me give you a little insight to how I think we should proceed. And then you guys can agree with me.
So, Stuart, before we move on, can we just recapture what we learned yesterday?
Exactly. That's my plan. You know, this is what I want to kind of go over again. And then, because really, you know, we went through that big illustration of sales and service delivery. And really, the idea that I got across to you guys, hopefully, was from my perspective, I want you to master service strategy. And then we went through the strategy management for IT services. What am I able to provide with my current service delivery team? And what is my plan to increase my capacity, my skill level, so I can provide more services to my customers? That means we've got 4 more components to go through. The feeling I got from you guys is the service portfolio management is probably the one that you have the most curiosity about, the most desire to master first. So my plan was to go through financial management, business relation management, and demand management as quickly as we can to start off with. So then the majority of the time we can spend on service portfolio management, which is the products piece of this. If everybody's okay with that, good. We don't really have a vote, but
Okay.
but I will open it up for any kind of questions or observations or opinions at this point before we dig in. And hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Stuart, just thinking about these different pieces of a strategy. If you have any tools which you can, I know like for financial management we discussed the QuickBooks. I was just thinking for
That'd
strategy.
be good. In this diagram, kind of detail the tools that you use to help you with. That's a great idea. Can you write that down? Is that what you're talking about? Kind of identify the tools that you use in each of these components?
Right,
That'd be
right.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, I like that idea. That's a great idea. I'll try to update this slide with those because you haven't.
I'm not. I'm gonna wait till, and I know some of you want to kind of do recap and re-review. I purposely didn't load this in so you get the whole picture before we do it. So the ask is if we can get this updated with that idea. It's a great idea. I will wait until I have that information before I put it up in Connect for y'all. So let's add that on the fly and then make that happen for you.
Great idea.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Any other good ideas or bad ideas?
Remember yesterday, Stu, we talked about the flow chart. They're kind of like the flow of how the different products are integrated, with Continuum and with AutoTask.
Yeah, the kind of incident flow chart.
Yeah. Like an example of how these things work.
Yeah, and I could
you gave
potentially
one was
pull
really
that
good.
up today so we can review it. That's kind of more demand management.
Okay.
Maybe, we pull that up during demand management. I'd have to find it on my computer, so yeah, good idea. Remind me as we go through demand management. Anything else? All right, let's move on. So we went through strategy management. So this is what we're going to start talking about, service portfolio management. Again, we're going to leave this for the end. And let's get into demand management first off. So demand management, again, is all about the service platform. All MSPs utilize an RMM tool and a PSA tool. So you'll encounter that with competition. So to truly be an MSP, you've got to have some sort of remote monitoring and access, and then a tool to collect all that data so you can service your customer for billing, for reports, and really manage your technical team through that by their use of it. Many of the alternatives that your competition may be using is a open source free RMM tool. Some build their own. We brought on a Houston MSP that is now a franchise in the Katy and Willowbrook area of Texas, in the Houston area. They had built their own PSA tool, like AutoTask, our PSA. So we transferred them to the AutoTask tool. And so that was interesting to see that, what other MSPs are using out there. Just be conscious that everybody should be using a tool like this that's in this industry. I believe we have, best in class. Using an open source, you really don't have the support, the security elements, the resources to truly make the improvements, whether they be security improvements or automation improvements. So be confident in your service platform and learn. Commit to learning. Commit to partnering with Continuum and AutoTask with us to continue to push them to improvement. You'll find as you mature in this system, you'll hear the complaints. So also be ready for that and participate, learn, but also work together with the corporate office and the franchisees to make this platform better. So the RMM platform, is all about getting alerts for incidents, hopefully before a user has a problem, automating much of the updates that your customer's computer needs, getting remote access, protecting, automation of scripting, and then plugging into the resources that Continuum has to offer that we went through yesterday. I think I kind of saw eyes open and minds open on the possibilities of using the NOC as more than just a support mechanism, but to use it as an active participant in your service strategy. So that's what we're talking about with Continuum and the RMM tool. It is the most vital tool that you're going to use to service your customers. So learning it, making sure, here's one concern that I have. You guys are going to go out there and hire a technician. They're going to come with their own kind of bias and experience. Other types of RMM tools, whether it be open source or a true enterprise type RMM tool. It's your job to indoctrinate them in this platform. Make sure they're trained and that they know how to use this and that they're using it fully. Sounds easy, but that's part of your management of your IT team to make sure that they're constantly or that they're fully capable on this platform. AutoTask, obviously probably the most important part of AutoTask is your ticket management, keeping track of your customers' needs. Every issue should have a ticket associated with it, every incident. But you can also use tickets for, say somebody needs a device, a laptop, a tablet, a server. They can also be used as kind of mini projects, that, create a ticket that this customer needs 3 laptops. Well, that ticket can be used to buy the laptops and install all the hardware and all the work that it takes to deploy those devices and set them up. So learning how best to use a ticket and all the functionality a ticket can have is a very important thing. Again, incidents, whether a customer submits a ticket through an email or through the client portal, a ticket that is generated by the Continuum agent, it detects some sort of, hey, patches have not been installed for the last week at this site or some problem, or a server patch, did not get installed, or backups are not happening. That's another way a ticket can get created. But, you may create a ticket. You are on a phone call with a customer. They need some technology, hardware, software. So you create a ticket, assign it to either yourself or your team, and use that ticket to, implement some sort of solution. All that is being tracked, not only for you to be aware of, but most tickets, maybe half of the tickets have billing consequences to them. They're either included in a recurring service that you're providing your customer, or they have hours or charges, hardware, software, travel, expenses that you need to then transfer to your customer. So managing that whole ticket flow is something that you're going to learn. So that needs to be part of your education too. Technician management. This is your HR tool. Your technician becomes a user at Autotask in your Autotask portal. And you are managing everything from vacation days, personal time off, uh, expense reports, time off requests, timesheets. All that is managed within Autotask. So this is your HR tool. In addition to that, you are potentially managing their schedule for them through Autotask. Remember I said yesterday that a ticket can then be turned into a service call is the term, which would be an appointment on site to a customer. So once you create that service call for a specific technician, that goes on the dispatch calendar. And you've now just, you are managing their schedule for them, or your admin is managing their schedule for them. This is also your POS, either a point of sale or piece of, however you want to term it, but this is the cash register. You are managing contracts, and you saw that little bit of that from the office hours yesterday with Paul as we were looking at his contract and kind of the specifics of it. That was a little confusing what he was trying to do. Hopefully it didn't scare you a little bit too much. Very easy to create a contract in Autotask. And basically what that does is create invoices for you. Kind of automates the invoice process. So you can keep track of your contracts with your customers through Autotask. Adjust the quantities, the pricing, just so that the billing is accurate and, again, consistent. And then notifications, the whole workflow management, you will evolve as you mature. Getting a handle of your workflow and your notifications is, is part of the learning process. And I can show you some tricks on that. But demand management, no matter what you're providing to your customers, is accomplished through your service platform. So this to me is the most important part of learning. And if you've gone through the technician onboarding class, which I know a couple of you have, Bill has, Stan has, I advise going through that. It's pretty thorough on what to expect with Autotask and then points you in the right direction of how to learn about Continuum, going to Continuum University. But certainly all of you should send your technicians there when you've hired them to kind of get them oriented on the service platform. But it's also good for you to go through it just to understand. The intro is a little bit about, hey, here's workplace conduct, workplace responsibilities, kind of giving them an understanding of what they're joining. They're not just joining a little IT company. They're joining a nationwide franchise system, and try to give them that perspective. So this is a lot of what, my office hours are about. I expect, like this class that was identified, we're no longer the new ones anymore. I expect you guys to be at my service delivery office hours and continue this learning. The second phase of training, which I don't think we've established when that is going to be, kind of TSB. That's correct. Will also contain, more advanced levels of training around this platform. But you've got to start the process yourself. And the Continuum University is really the best place to start on that. So that's 15 minutes on demand management. Any questions before we move on to the next one?
Can you please share more about the technician training?
So if you go to Connect,
So is that a CBT, like you have to just do yourself?
yeah, I made it. I must admit, it's one of my better pieces of work. I do video editing kind of as a hobby, mainly for my kids and
Wow.
family. So at CMIT Connect, all training is at the Learn section.
Hmm.
My section is the service delivery. You know, there's a whole library of different modules, but you can go to the different sections. Mine is service delivery. So I've got 2 courses. I'm working on more, but right now I've just got 2 courses. One is the rapid fire tool network assessment, but this is the one that I'm talking about, new technician training. And I can see that, Jerome's been through it too. Bill, there's Stan.
Now, I have
Yeah.
not done this. I think I need to do this, right?
Correct. So it's a 3-part training. You know, kind of an introduction. This is the most extensive one. Autotask, for some reason, really doesn't have a great training course like Continuum or Datto or these other. I'm really on them about that. There is one element that I've put on your 90-day list to address around Autotask, but this kind of gives you a simple introduction to how Autotask works, how to drive Autotask. And then Continuum is mainly about accessing Continuum and ultimately accessing Continuum University. But yeah, I advise you guys, Ekram, Tan, to go through this. It's pretty painless. You should be able to get through it maybe 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes.
No, I think that'll be really helpful. Thank you. Thanks for putting this together.
Yep.
One quick question about Autotask. I was talking with James one day, and he was telling me about one kind of using a service where he says, I don't have to call my service guy all the time where he is. So he said it will show me where he is, and I know exactly what he's doing. And I didn't really get what he was talking.
Well, I'm not sure Autotask can track location of where his tech is. He might have incorporated some sort of, phone tracking, but you can definitely see their schedule where they should be based on the dispatch schedule. So that's maybe what he's talking about, is he can go into the dispatch calendar and see what's scheduled for his technicians that day. That's very important.
Okay, I think he was talking about some kind of GPS on the map. You can see he's at the Starbucks or.
That's awesome. You should definitely, put something together like that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. But I don't think that's a part of Autotask. At least not that I know.
Right, yeah. But when he spoke with me, I was really thrilled. I said, okay, that's a great idea. You don't have to call your tech like 10 times. Hey, where you are?
Yep. No, that is a good idea. We need to institute that as a best practice. That's good. So let's move on. Financial management. In addition to learning the financial tools, the Autotask and QuickBooks integration, it's just as important to get a grasp of financial concepts. Some of you probably already have it. Bill probably already has a grasp of those. It is important because you need to be an example for your customers. So many things can come from being a consistent and using good practices around billing, invoicing, collections. I mean, the more professional you are to your customers, the more they trust you, the more they will, depend on you for advice. I mean, if you appear to be kind of shoddy, unprofessional, that's going to be a reflection about your whole service delivery. So I include this invoicing, billing as a part of service delivery because it is a part of how your customer perceives you. So don't let it slip. Learn these concepts and be a good example financially for your customers. The other piece is in the business assessment meetings, understanding the concepts of financial statements, gross margin compared to net profit, cash flow issues, having a grasp of those will help you in those discussions with your prospects, with your customers, to better identify business problems. So put an effort into that business 101. If you assess yourself as, hey, this is not one of my strong areas, work to strengthen that area because it will benefit you. Not only how you run your business, but how your customers and prospects perceive you. Understood?
Yep. So you're gonna go over that one at the bottom right if we get past due. I thought you were gonna tell us how to handle those things.
Sarah will teach you all about that. There is a process to learn to manage your billing. And again, 90% of all franchisees manage this process, and 100% of all new franchisees run this process. How do I bill my customers? Again, you saw Paul, deep in AutoTask, running, setting up that contract, knowing how that works, because it is that important. At some point in time in your maturity, when you have the right person, you can hand that off. But starting off, you need to be the person running that invoicing and billing. That's where, unless you have skills of QuickBooks, that's where I want your bookkeeping duties to stop, where you can deliver the invoices to your customer. If you don't have QuickBooks experience, that's where you stop. You throw everything else into a folder, an envelope, your bank statements, your deposit slips, any credit card receipts, statements, and you hand it off to a bookkeeper that can spend, especially starting off, an hour, maybe 2 hours a month, entering the data and reconciling your monthly bank statement. That is the way to do it. Don't learn QuickBooks. I said this yesterday. This is not the time to learn QuickBooks. If you already have that skill, fantastic. That gives you a leg up on certain aspects of this. But again, don't hide in QuickBooks. Get it done. Move on to the things that are most important about your business.
So, as Stuart, sorry to cut you off, but I have been, hearing different advices, talking to different owners. Somebody told me, hey, as an owner, you need to know each penny getting into your business and getting out of your business.
Agreed.
And I have also seen owners where you ask them, hey, what is this $10,000 for cell phones and mobile? Say, I don't know. My accountant did this for me. So maybe that's a misallocation.
Yeah. But yes, you should know every penny that goes in and out of your business. Um, typically, you know, starting off, which you're different, you're an existing business. You know, the complexity of reviewing your financial statements may take some time, but yes, you should review your monthly P&L and say, this doesn't look like it's in the right spot. Go back to your bookkeeper and question it. But yes, if you look at your P&L, you should be able to say, okay, yeah, that's right. This is what I invoiced for this month. This is what I paid my technicians. That looks right. You know, yes, you should be able to review your financial statements and identify areas of confusion or mistake, and go back to your bookkeeper and say, this doesn't look right. Please explain, you know, what makes up this. And you should then begin to learn how to diagnose potential issues. QuickBooks is very easy. If you have a financial statement, a P&L, a profit and loss statement, and you see a number on it that you don't know what it is, if you just click on that number, you can start digging down into what that is and dig deeper. It's a very user-friendly platform like that. So that is an area where I would encourage you to learn about how to read a P&L and investigate, kind of forensically investigate, you know, what these components or what these numbers mean. Yes, I would agree with you that I want you to be able to do that. I want you to track every penny that goes in and out of your business. I don't want you making those entries, but you should be able to read and question a P&L. That's a good point. And I probably need to, I mean, that's kind of this here. You've got to understand your financial concerns. And that's your financial statements, the P&L, the balance sheet. Understand the concept of cash flow. What's coming in, what's going out. And then, you know, the whole invoicing and collections process. Those are the pieces that you need to know. I've got manuals on it. And again, this is an ongoing concern. We used to go through examples of how to utilize this. But the fact is, it wasn't sticking. We didn't have, I mean, when you have a customer, you need to create a contract, contact me. We'll set up a private appointment or come to my business office hours, and we'll do it there. The only way you can learn this is doing it. Somebody showing you doesn't work. You know, me sitting here and demonstrating it, you'll see it, but it won't stick. The only way you can do it is getting in there, and it's really not that hard. It's a simple process, but you've got to follow this diagram on the right. This is your billing process. You create a billable item, you approve and post it, which you saw in the office hours. We went to the approve and post screen where you kind of check the charges, whether they be labor charges, contract charges, and then you move them on to the next step, and then you process the invoices. And lastly, you get them out to your customers, which is email them, unless you want to print them off, stuff them in an envelope, and mail them. Email is the best way to distribute your invoices to your customers. So simple process, but you have to just get in there and do it to learn it and perfect it. And we will support you on that learning process. But the billing manual, the customer billing policy manual is the document to help you through that process. And then we also have the home office billing manual, which is a guide on what you can expect from the home office in terms of interactions, many charges that you will incur from the alliance partners come through the home office, in addition to loyalty and those type of things. So both these manuals are important. They're both at the reference library under, let me confirm exactly where it is.
I've got it. Would you guys like to see that connect under this class? It shakes. No.
So under the it's all under service delivery. I just wanted to make sure. QuickBooks and billing. You've got both policy manuals in there.
Yeah, I think as long as you mention that it's, where to go, it doesn't have to, the whole diagram doesn't have to be in the document, but I'll remember billing, reference library, and then you service delivery. Like I said, once we do that a couple of times, we'll know it. So,
Yep.
I mean,
All right.
Do extra work and add it.
Any questions on this before we move on? And we got one more before we run into kind of the product service portfolio.
Yeah, I'm just going to tag on to what you're saying, Stu. I've worked, on this side with a number of businesses. You don't, like Stuart was saying, you don't have to enter it, but you got to understand what it's doing. I had a buddy of mine, I went over his books for him, and his accountant stole $100,000 from him, right? Just been going out the door. And it was a friend of his from church. I mean, that's the crazy thing. Wow. You don't know a person's situation and how desperate they might be in their personal life to give them so much trust that you don't even look at your financials. So, get a book, get Stu's stuff on it. If you don't understand it, to look at it. I bought books for my partner. There's financial reports for dummies, right? There's that out there. Financial Reports 101.
YouTube videos. Watch YouTube.
Yeah, there's
videos.
all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah,
But you got to look at it. Budgets are great for that because they're a quick and easy way to tell, I'm supposed to spend $6,000 on my tech and I spent $8,000. Why did that happen? And so it's an easy, quick thing to help you out there, to a reference point. So I can't say it enough that I've seen so many businesses struggle and fail because they didn't do or understand or spend the time on this side of it compared to outselling it, right? Hey, we're selling, we're doing, everything's great, life's good, and then they come back and go, where's all the money? Thought we were doing great. So it is important, but again, you don't have to do the data entry. That's there. You can't make any money. Trust me, you can't make any money doing data entry on QuickBooks, but so it's pretty reasonable price too.
Hey, and that's a good point. I mean, there is so much help out there, bookkeeping help, that it's really not a profitable business. I mean, there's so much competition that you can find good help for a very reasonable price in terms of bookkeeping.
So what is a reasonable price for less than 200 entries a month?
So I wouldn't pay more than, say, $25 an hour for QuickBooks bookkeeping. And I think that's probably a good target. There may be reasons why you want to pay more, but I think you could find a quality bookkeeper. Would you agree, Bill?
Yeah, that to me, that would even would be up there even for a bookkeeper, right? An accountant or somebody who's going to spend, but you find somebody that's just doing bookkeeping, it's an attorney style business model, right? You've got your CPA and you've got your accountant and you've got your bookkeeper, and it does that kind of thing. So you want to find that person that's willing to do that billable rate at the lowest dollar. So I would check with your CPA, hey, do you know or have somebody that does bookkeeping, data entry, that'll charge you $15, $20 an hour, and keep it on that low end and set something up with them that way.
Agree. Yeah. Do not pay your CPA to do your bookkeeping.
No, do not. Yeah,
100,
absolutely.
$100 an hour or something like that. Don't do that.
So this is all new to me. So sorry if I'm asking dumb questions.
No, no, no.
So for bookkeeping, I think they would like to know your accounts, right? Your access to your bank accounts, credit cards, your receipts, or how will they do the bookkeeping?
Documentation, but not access. You don't need to give access to your bank accounts or credit cards to your bookkeeper. You need to give statements, but you don't need to give access. You'll still do, say, the deposits and, credit card payments, potentially write a check. Maybe once you get big enough, you'll have an in-house accounting department, and you'll print checks and approve them. But starting off, no, I would not hand access just for the very reasons that Bill brought up. You want to maintain control of your accounts and access to your accounts. Your bookkeepers only need the documentation of what took place. Put it in the file. Put all receipts, bank statements, credit card statements, everything in a file, hand it off. They do need access to your QuickBooks. But, if I have that information, because I'm a finance major, I've done accounting, I'm very good with QuickBooks. I can take that, enter it, reconcile your bank statement within an hour. It's not hard.
So, Stuart, some businesses allow their accountants to directly download the transactions from banks and, credit card processing accounts and things like that. Are you advising against that?
Typically, that is an integration directly into QuickBooks that you set up. I would suggest you set that up if you want to. There is nothing wrong with manual entry. I'm a big fan of manual entry. I guess I'm old school, but
I don't download anything in any of the organizations I work with. I don't bank download any of it. First off, the bank download is going to want to tell you what they think it's for, right? You go to Walmart to buy paper and it's going to say, oh, you bought snacks, or something like that. It's crazy. So I'm a huge proponent of the old manual entry thing because you got to go back and fix so much crap. It's just,
exactly. You still got to, even if you download all those entries, somebody's got to review them all and verify that they're in the right spot. So especially starting off, there is no need for bank downloads. Sitting down with the bank statement, the credit card statement, that can be done very quickly, especially an experienced bookkeeper can knock it out very quickly. Yeah. So don't just default or knee-jerk into automatic downloads. I'm telling you, and so is Bill, there is nothing wrong about manual data entry into your QuickBooks. Have a reason for, bank transaction downloads. Don't just say, okay, we need this automation. Make sure it makes sense for you before you make that move, is my advice.
Yeah, I agree. I was just throwing it out there just to get your take on that.
And it's a frequent question, so it's great that you brought it up.
And as Bill said, there are a lot of charges that are not very descriptive, so you have to figure out what it is. And
it could duplicate entries too. You may have entered something, and now this bank download has entered it again. So, I think it's gotten better, but again, make it, do it for a reason. Don't just knee-jerk into it or, by default, move to automated transactions. Great questions. A lot of learning here. But again, assess yourself to figure out what learnings you need to add to your kind of list of things to learn.
But Ekram, what you just stated is the reason why people end up in trouble. is because they don't fully understand, or they think there's such this, super automation stuff that's going on and that all the checks and balances are all built in and all that kind of stuff. And they're not, right? And so as Stuart's saying, I encourage you to find some resources to understand it more, so that this doesn't get away from you and become a problem. Now, you may never have an issue, right? You may go through your entire career and never have a problem, but it's like insurance. When you need it, you need it, right? And so if you have a problem, it's a big problem. So take the time to understand this, because I guarantee you, if you get a better understanding of the financials and that side of your business, it just opens up a lot of new worlds.
Yeah, and this bookkeeper that you can pay 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, make sure it's a good relationship, because you can learn a lot from that bookkeeper. Discussions with them, that should be a rewarding relationship. Should not be adversarial, needs to be very productive, and you need to use it as not just hey, you're doing this for me, but ask questions and learn the process. That's the best way to learn QuickBooks. Look over their shoulder as they're, reconciling your bank statement, and then ask questions like, what are you doing there? So find a good resource that you can not just put to work, but learn from.
So how does this work? You give all your receipts to the bookkeeper, and he then sorts it out. Okay, these tomatoes don't belong to business. Okay, but this paper belongs to business.
They're going to call you and say, hey, where do you want me to put this? And you'll say, I don't know, what's your suggestion? Well, typically I would put something like this expense in here. Sounds good. There is going to be some interaction where they're going to not know where to put things. You can either reach out to me, email me, and say, hey, Stuart, my bookkeeper's struggling on where to put this expense, and copy them. And I'll say, hey, typically this expense goes in account so-and-so. So I'll certainly communicate with your bookkeepers to help them learn your system.
What you're going to do is you're going to take a receipt like this. You're going to write, it was paid, the date it was paid, the check number it was paid, and the amount you actually wrote the check for, right? The $1,500, that's down here on the bottom, right? You give that to your accountant or your bookkeeper, and they enter it in, right? Check number, who it's to, it's CMIT. So marketing, blah, 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 right? It's quick and easy because you documented it right there. They don't need your checkbook. Then if you got a credit card, you're going to take this to them, and you're going to write on the top of each one, just like if you're in corporate America, they want to know who, what, when, where, why. You got to do that, guys. You're not away from that. Your business requires that. There's a reason people do it. So you're going to write that on every receipt. You're going to put them all together. You're going to give them to them. They're going to go in. They're going to enter your credit card statement. You're going to give them then your statement for your bank, your statement for your credit card. They're going to do that reconciliation.
And here's another consideration. Jerome, Tam, Bill, that house that you're sitting in right now is part of your expense. You need to understand with your CPA what you can start expensing by using that office that you're in right now. Those are considerations. That's part of the owner benefit that you need to start appreciating every time you fill up your car. I always think, since I'm not my business owner, I always think when it says, do you want a receipt? I hit no. You need to change it. You need a receipt every time you fill up your car, and it's a good thing to put your mileage on that receipt too. Hey, my mileage was this when I filled up. Now, expensing gas is not really a way that you can do things. Expensing mileage is the standard way to pay for your car. You've got to learn these. You've got to learn how to take advantage of owning a business and expensing the personal things that are allowed to be expensed. So that's That's a whole nother understanding. Talk to your CPA. That's good consulting with your CPA right there.
If I can kind of interject for just a second, this all comes back to, and I know the audience I'm speaking to can understand, it comes down to bandwidth. You're going to have different bandwidth to do this. Some of you are going to be, you know what, I just do my receipt to my account and they do their thing. Some of you who are more experienced with QuickBooks and some of these things are going to be like, nah, I do this. I got all my receipts. I've got all the receipts from whoever I'm sending out and my text and whatnot into this for you. You can get super granular with it. If you, hey, $3 4 cents at Walmart, what's going on? Or, you know, and it's super, like, I've got other things to do. I've got marketing. I've got calls to make. Your accountant will call you up and say, why is there a $1,500 charge for Southwest Airlines? Do a little deep dive and find out, oh, somebody's got to go to Las Vegas this weekend on my tab, and I didn't approve it because, I don't know, Ecker wants to play craps. Who knows? I don't know. This is conjecture. It's how deep into this do you want to give the time towards doing your own accounting, and if you can do it, God bless you, because I've tried with my wife, and we have an accountant now for that exact reason, because I don't have the bandwidth to do it. So then she wonders why there's $1,000 charge on Southwest Airlines.
And remember, this is part of your 2 hours a day of understanding the service strategy. Financial management is a part of that. So is that 30 minutes a day? That's your 15 minutes a day? Part of your day has to be thinking about the financial management of your company. So let's leave it at that. Let's move on. I think we did some good work here, and Bill, I appreciate your help on that.
Hey, Stuart.
Yep.
Sorry, just one quick question.
No.
What about your employees, your staff, when it comes to financials? So they have to submit receipts and things of that sort? Or?
Absolutely. And
okay.
Autotask has a whole functionality around submitting expense reports where you can, see them. So that is a great way to do that. To approve them, but still put that in the folder. Of course, you're going to reimburse them. Use a payroll company. Don't try to take on payroll yourself. There are, and there's lots of them out there. ADP is a typical one, but there's some cheaper ones out there. Like
QuickBooks has got an integration with it that works, right?
Yep.
Don't take that liability on at all. Never take that liability on. Always use a payroll company. They take that liability on. When
if you miss a deposit or don't submit a return on time, it is
it can get expensive. Yeah. But the other part is, if you've ever worked at corporate America and there was that person that in accounting that hounded you about receipts and your expense report and stuff like that, you are going to know exactly why now as a business owner, because they're going to want money and you're going to say, well, what was it for? And you're going to look at that quick trip receipt and go, well, what's this energy drink on here for? And well, why am I thought it was gas, You're going to understand that much, much more as to why they do that.
Okay. So Autotask has that process, the expense reporting, where I can review and approve those. Okay.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
So a quick question for payroll. You also need to do that for your 1099 contractors?
A little bit easier. The only part that you don't have to do is at the end of the year, issue them a 1099 on what you paid them. Much easier to work with contractors. You're just writing them a check for the invoice that they give you.
Yeah, your CPA should be able to help you with that. That's a pretty straightforward thing.
Okay, thanks.
All right, let's move into business relationship management. We talked, I think, extensively about this, kind of some strategies. This includes how you onboard people, your quarterly business reviews, your security awareness training, those type of things. But it all starts when you first sit down with that business owner. You are establishing that relationship. That should be the purpose of your meetings, building relationships. And then it just progresses from there. Remember, we talked about being aware of how somebody views you by the language they use. You know, does this guy, does my customer, does my prospect see me as just a vendor, an IT service provider, and how can I elevate that perception with different tools, different strategies? So always be aware. Don't, you know, and that's an art form. Couple things. Your tools will give you tons of information for these QBRs. You know, what Continuum is doing in the background, what the knock is doing, all the tickets that you resolved for this company. That may be where your first meetings start with them. You've really got to understand what your business owner wants. And just like any prospect meeting, you've got to prepare. You've got to understand their industry, their competition, the metrics that are important to them. And there was one more, I'll think of it here in a second, but the risk, business risk. You know, great question at the right moment. What keeps you up at night about your business? I mean, what is that one thing that just keeps you up at night? I mean, you may unlock a treasure trove of business problems to try to solve by asking a question like that. So, you know, strategies in these meetings, and whether they be prospects or customers, is very important. Speaking of some strategies, this is where I talked about the pumpkin plan. This is a great QBR tool. Michael Malkowitz came to our convention, and I have the Sandler method on there too, but we're kind of moving past the Sandler method. Let me give you this pumpkin plan strategy in like a 30-second minute condensed version. So the whole idea, I mean, his whole idea is he took the farming of colossal pumpkins and tried to relate it to your book of business. How do you cultivate your book of business like the colossal pumpkin farmers do it? They don't focus on the minuscule little plants, you know, that they're going to have to put a lot of effort into. You know, when they plant the seeds, some of them take off immediately, and then you've got some, you know, little plants that, you know, they might work out, but I'd have to put a lot of work into, you know, cultivating this. You focus on your best customers. Bottom line, you pull the weed or you pull the little plants because it's going to be too much effort to get them to where they're producing for you. So identify your best customers. Look at your customer base and identify your best customers. The idea is I want to clone those customers. I want to duplicate those customers. And I want to eventually get rid of my bad customers if I can, if I have the ability. So how do you do that? Couple strategies. In these QBRs, he's very funny, and he brings up the fact that, most people lie in casual conversation. How you doing? I'm doing great. When, you know, there may be 5 things the guy's worried about. It's not a meaningful lie, but they just lie, whatever reason. So you're trying to pose questions to get the truth. First question. Hey, what are we doing right? What do you like about us? Simple question, and most people will be able to answer it. Business owner says, hey, I love your response time. You know, when I submit a ticket or a call, you guys are always, you know, responding and engaging us, you know, well within your SLA. Great. You just determine what's important to that customer. That's what they feel is important? And this is theoretical, but that type of question is identifying what's important to your customer. Your strategy should go back to your team and say, this is what's important to this customer. Let's double our efforts on this. Let's make this even better. Secondly, you don't go ask them, hey, what do you hate about us? Because they'll lie, because you're right in front of them. They don't want to, for the most part, hurt your feelings. So, you disassociate yourself and say, what is it that you don't like about the IT industry out there?
How much time do you got?
Now that they've disassociated, having to tell you what they don't like about you, and you gave them the opportunity to say what you don't like about that IT industry out there, they're going to tell you what they don't like about you. And that is a strategy to kind of identify potential problems that you've got to fix. So little strategy there. Third thing, do you mind if I call some of your vendors to, talk to them and see if I can identify any technology problems that they're having in terms of interacting with you? I mean, there's potentially some things that we could fix that you may not be aware of, but I'd be happy to communicate with your vendors and figure out if there's some, workflow issues, some technology issues, some communication issues. Is that, would you mind if I did that? Okay, what does that do? First of all, they probably never had an IT support company ask them that question, which they're like, wow, just elevated your perception or their perception of you. Secondly, if they do give you these, what did they just give you? Referrals, without actually asking for referrals. So you've now got 3 or 4 referrals that you can now talk to with a reason, not a sales reason, but a reason to say, hey, I've got this great customer and, they're very valuable to me. And I know you're a vendor of theirs. And I was just wondering if there's anything I can do to, make this relationship better for you. Is there any obstacles that I can help try to remove? What does that do? Hopefully gives you some strategies to improve your customer's business. Gives you another prospect. But it also then, I promise you, that vendor probably is not going to receive many calls like that. This is not a sales call. This is like, how can we better serve one of your customers? Hopefully, then that person, that company, will either think, hey, this is the kind of company I want to work with, or in talking with other people like your customer that they are vendors for, if the conversation ever comes around that, hey, do you know any good IT companies? They're going to remember that call and say, you know what, I do know a good IT company. CMIT Solutions seems like they got, that they're on the ball. And so that whole process, like I said, I think I've condensed it down, but it's about using these QBRs as a strategy to elevate your perception, get referrals, and duplicate your best customers. The last piece of it is, say that customer is an accountant. Armando up in the New York area specializes in CPAs. The way he's done that is he makes himself available in the CPA industry. CPA events, he's there with the table. He's looking for CPAs. He knows how to handle them. They're his best customers. And so not only does he employ strategies to do that, he makes himself available and present in that community. Networking groups, conventions, conferences, those type of things. So that is a strategy for QBRs. And I encourage you to get that book and to employ a strategy like that in these QBRs. Security awareness training and onboarding. This is that lady that I was talking to you about there in the dress and the high heels. Joy Beelan. She helped us develop a personalized CMIT security awareness training slide deck. She has a recording of how she delivers it, about an hour long. Certainly don't have to give an hour long presentation, but you can hear her give that presentation. Slide deck with all her notes on it. Again, this is a way to not only improve your customers' security. Again, most affordable cybersecurity solution for SMBs is training their employees how to use technology securely. This should also be used as a marketing tool, whether it's putting on security awareness training events for your Chamber of Commerce, for networking groups, for church groups, using it as a tool to get in your prospects business. Again, do you mind if or what about the idea of me coming into your company and giving your employees a 30-minute, hour-long security awareness training? I'll do it for free. Usually I sell it for $400, $2,000, but I'm willing to do it for free. That again is a tool to elevate your perception with your prospects, with your customers, and potentially win you business by just, showing a little bit of effort and building some goodwill with your prospects in that way.
Stuart, I went yesterday because this is one of the main reasons I got into this was security awareness. I just think it's going to continue to be more and more and more and more. I read somewhere that most ransomware, like 70% of all ransomware attacks are on small businesses. That's where they're making most of their money. And today in here in our community, the big company Garmin got smacked with a ransomware, and they think they paid $10 million, and nobody's saying anything, but they think they went ahead and had to pay the $10 million because there was nothing they could do. So with that being said, I went and looked. I could only find one PowerPoint. I couldn't find the slide decks or all that stuff that you were talking about. So
let me verify that. I was just thinking that was the question you're going for.
yeah, that was the only thing I found, and it is a PowerPoint, but you as an individual, as a person, I'm going to have to build on it a lot in order to make it work.
So one thing I want you to see, if you go to the notes page, all her notes are on the slides. So
Gotcha.
yeah, this
I did not do that. Okay. Yeah,
so that's one of the
Yep.
best parts of this is all her notes.
And which company she works for?
She used to work for ConnectWise or Continue, but in this pandemic, she just got laid off. So I think she'll get a job quickly. She's out in LA. I've got a great relationship with her. It looks like the recording is not on here, so we'll get that uploaded. The Joy Cybersecurity Awareness Training recording.
Do you know what month that was?
So
I have it on my computer.
Okay,
Today.
All right.
So
Yep.
ConnectWise, which owns I think Continuum now, so
Correct.
in partnership with IT Nation, they offer free courses, and I attended those a single, I think it's a 1 day, full day.
Yep.
I think certification course. One they call the CCFS, Certified Cybersecurity Fundamentals for Sales, and they also offer another course called CCFE, Certified Cybersecurity Fundamentals for Engineers, and they're like 80% same content. I attended both of them, and they're really great courses.
Agreed.
And
We've taken at least 70 franchisees through those courses in an extended course. We have the recordings of those. We're trying to get them loaded up into Connect, but you can go straight to those courses with ConnectWise. Those are super valuable, and they are working. They teach you how to speak and have business conversations around these newest cybersecurity tools. Totally agree, Tam. Thanks for
Can
bringing that
someone
up.
send that out to the group?
yeah, I will send the link to the group. And it's, to me, like it's like a treasure trove. You know, they teach you everything. What are the standards? What's the framework? What's the path you can take? What's the cybersecurity journey? What is hardening? It's like it's really interesting.
Yes, it's perfect. It's a and those are the guy who does most of it. Two of the guys are the old Carver SOC founders, Jay Ryerson and Drew Sanford. Those are close CMIT friends. So we count them as true partners along this cybersecurity journey. So we have not only those courses, but we can put you in touch when you're ready with the top executives around these security products, and they are a valuable resource for sure.
But let me tell you one thing. You know, cybersecurity is so deep. It's like a giant iceberg. I attended those two classes and I thought I got a lot, but when I was talking to this prospect about bit locking and all that, and I was just struggling.
Agreed. But there are some simple ways to implement. I mean, again, we implement with our service platform elements of security. When you deploy a continuum agent, you're also deploying webroot endpoint protection. You can easily deploy webroot DNS filtering. We'll talk about that here in a second. Adding to that, the continuum EDR, the endpoint detection and response tool. You are truly protecting workstations. I mean, you've got things in place to protect the user, and when something gets through, you've got the SOC there helping to remediate and quarantine. Those are pretty simple tools to learn how to deploy and implement.
I think one of the best things that I found in talking to a few of the vendors in this whole up process is most of them seem to be happy to answer questions, maybe even some of them have even offered to be on customer calls.
Absolutely.
So when it gets over your head, and in my case, that's not going to take very long in a lot of this, having those resources to say, hey, and my go-to line is there are a lot smarter people out there than me that do that kind of stuff. Let's get those let's get with those folks if you want to go that deep with it. But what you've done though is you've got the hook there and you're ready to reel them in on the fact that they know they have a problem and they have an interest. There's something that's kind of keeping them in their techie mind or whatever. But that's just I think our goal is to get that hook set out there and let somebody else reel it in if that's what has to happen.
Yeah, and that is available in many cases. And again, being a CMIT franchise, we can hook you up with those people who are ready to assist you on the engineering part of it, the deployment part of it, and even the presentation and sales part. So understanding that, building those relationships, and building that understanding is part of it. But the simple cybersecurity tools are not as complicated as you think. The whole cybersecurity environment is. but there are some ways that you can enter this very easily. But again, this is my mantra to you on service portfolio management, which we're moving into right now. Learn.
I apologize for the interruption. I have a quick ask for you. Is there an opportunity to build in a quick 10-minute walk around bio, or you?
Yeah. Let's do 5 minutes. But before we go, the mantra is learn the basics. Get the basics under your belt. And with that, we'll get back here at 10:20 Central. See you in a bit. Your coffee getting
That was fast.
Yep.
5 minutes.
We're-
Is,
We're,
even Eastern time is fast.
we're on the home stretch here. So, all right. We are talking product now, which I am trying to move the terminology to more of the ITIL framework, but it's certainly interchangeable. Service portfolio is the term that is commonly used in the industry. These are the services within your portfolio that you're able to offer to your customers. Getting a grasp of this, and you'll remember yesterday, we are at the very front of a major transition